Chapter 5. Speechless. But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. Luke 1:13. Look, Zacharias, someone is coming to visit us. Can you tell who it is? Elizabeth was still not used to having her husband not able to answer her back, even though it had been over 6 months since he had lost his speech because he did not believe what the angel Gabriel had told him. Well, he believed it now, and the birth of their son could not come soon enough for him. Elizabeth was not looking at her husband when she asked the question, so she missed his shaking his head in reply. It didn't, however, take her long to recognize the two weary travelers. Why, it's Cousin Joseph, and that must be Mary, his youngest daughter. How wonderful! Joseph kept his promise to me. Elizabeth waddled down the path and straight into Joseph's outstretched arms. Then she in turn gave Mary a big hug. Joseph explained he could not stop as he had urgent business in Jerusalem, but he would be back for Mary after he got news of the baby's birth. Elizabeth assured him that Mary could stay as long as she wished. Mary was relieved that her father wasn't staying long, and was even gladder to hear that Zacharias was going to visit a friend down the road. Mary wanted Elizabeth all to herself. Elizabeth, it must be wonderful to have God perform a miracle for you and Zacharias. Yes, Mary, it is quite the thing. I hid myself for 5 months. I knew no one would believe me anyway until I was showing. Like your husband, the angel Gabriel visited me too, and told me I was going to have a son. Upon hearing this, Elizabeth, with a loud voice, said, Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Oh, Elizabeth, you don't understand. Although I'm very excited, I'm terrified too. Joseph doesn't know, and I have no way of explaining it to him before I'm 7 months pregnant. Mary looked at Elizabeth and envisioned herself at 7 months. Joseph and I are only engaged. Therefore, by the time he comes back, everyone will believe the worst. There, now it will all work out. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Come, I want to show you our nursery for our son. Elizabeth knew that Mary's concerns were warranted, but since she did not know of a solution, being a priest's wife for so many years had taught her to trust the Lord, even if nothing seemed to be going smoothly. The days flew by quickly at Elizabeth's, and Mary was so grateful to be going through morning sickness without eagle eyes of her parents finding out her secret. They would have sent her to Dr. Adley, and Dr. Adley would have found out the problem, and then all of Nazareth would have found out before Mary could tell Joseph. Then a letter came for Mary, and Elizabeth was sure it would solve all her worries. But as she saw Mary read it, it could not have held the answer as she had hoped it would. Dear Mary, I hope you will not think I've failed you, but it is not possible for me to come home so soon after arriving here. Zebedee agreed to my coming home 7 months after my arrival so I could get married. I must stick to the agreement so we can have a secure life together. Don't worry, the time will go by fast. Love, Joseph. I can tell by your face that Joseph's letter is not helping to calm your fears. Elizabeth put her arms around Mary as Mary handed her the letter and burst into tears. Elizabeth read the letter and immediately advised, Mary, you are going to have to tell your parents. They will send Uriah to fetch Joseph so you can get married sooner. But what if Joseph doesn't believe me? What if he thinks I betrayed him? Don't think that way. Send him another urgent reply. Maybe he will come if you make it strong enough. I've already sent him 3 letters. What good will a 4th do? Mary cried some more. She was really frightened, but Elizabeth's experience with human nature helped to calm her, for Elizabeth said she believed she knew of a way to get Joseph to come home. So the 2 of them coined a letter that was sure to make a man like Joseph come home now. The grapevine was a scary place to find out information. Therefore, it only stands to reason that anyone in their right mind would rather hear news firsthand than via the grapevine. Mary, would you please go get the midwife? I think the time has come for me to have this baby. Elizabeth bent over in pain. After helping her to her bed, Mary ran to get Mimi, the best midwife around. Word spread fast that Elizabeth finally had her baby, and when they heard that his name was to be John, not Zacharias, they could not figure it out, for they knew of no relative of Elizabeth and Zacharias by that name. But John he was to be, and upon the declaration of his name by his mother, and by his father by writing it on a parchment, Zacharias was no longer speechless. But he praised the Lord for his goodness to his family and to Israel as a whole, for allowing his son John to tell of the coming of the Savior, the horn of salvation, whom God was raising up in the house of his servant David. Mary was overjoyed at seeing how well Elizabeth fared in the birth of her son at her age. And when Mary's father came to pick her up, she resolved to tell her parents the truth and trust the Lord concerning the repercussions of the fallout.